two words for you. It's complicated. I don't know if you honestly understand what I mean when I say that or not, but you will shortly. When I say it's complicated, it's a confession that acknowledges the fact that it is possible to walk into one moment that produces more than one, and in some cases, opposing reactions internally. I think of that space in Ezra chapter 3 where the exiles have returned back to their homeland to rebuild the temple, and they've gotten through just with the foundation, just enough progress to really celebrate. And in the midst of the celebration, the Bible says that there were some among them who began to shout for joy as they sang and worshiped and thanked the God who brought them out of exile. But it says that there were among them older men who remembered the first temple, the temple they lost, the temple that was destroyed, and they began to weep. And the Bible says that the sound of the weeping and that the sound of the shouting and praise were mingled together. That's what I mean by it's complicated, that there are seasons where our reactions are mingled together. Times when, whether we're talking about a community of people or some even in some cases within one person themselves, you can find someone who is in a complicated space where I really don't know how to react. And people who are very simple-minded don't understand the complexities that exist, that even in restoration can be complex. Restoration can be complicated. On one hand, I'm grateful to the Lord that the Lord brought me out and that the Lord made a way. But on the other hand, I'm nervous and I don't know how I'm going to survive. On one side, I'm thankful to God that the Lord brought me this far. And on the other hand, I'm trying to figure out, Lord, how can I live without the thing that I lost? And when I think back and I begin to compare the size of my fresh start with the magnitude of what I've left behind, I can't help but weep. I'm talking to you. If you're honest enough and sensitive enough with yourself that you can admit sometimes even great moments leave mixed feelings. And what I want to tell you today, if you ever find yourself in complicated space, the goal is not to simplify that space by simply getting rid of whatever weeping may endure. That's not what they did. It said that the praise was mingled together so much so that you couldn't even tell the difference between the sound of the weeping and the sound of the shouting, because the people continued to turn up the joy until the joy matched and perhaps even drowned out the sound of the weeping. And what I'm telling you is that the way we deal with complications is that we give it all to God and trust that God can tell the difference. I'm suggesting to you that God has a way. God knows. God is wise enough to discern and to know. He doesn't even have to discern. He knows all things. God is wise enough to be able to see in your life the difference between your sorrow and your shout. So you don't have to fake your way through life. I know it's complicated, but isn't that the gospel too? That on one hand we have the cross and on the other hand we have the empty tomb, and you can't have one without the other. And if you remove one of them by simplifying salvation, you really don't have salvation. It takes the complicated nature of the weeping at the cross and the shouting at the empty tomb. And that, my brothers and sisters, is the essence of what it means to be restored. So my challenge to you this week is to allow God in your complicated spaces and watch what God will do. This is your momentum. What are you going to do?